All right, YouTube, how you doing? Welcome back to the channel. It is Tuesday, May 7th. We've got a full MLB slate to dive into in today's video, like we always do when I go through each and every one of these games. I'll give you my lean on the side. I'll give you my lean on the total. We'll talk about any other plays, like player props that we like within the game as well. But as always, all of my final plays, so what I'm rolling with myself, if you do want to fade me, all those plays are going to be in the pinned comment. Make sure to keep an eye on that. In terms of last night's final plays, or yesterday's final plays, we have a 3, 2, and 1 night with 2 nice plus money hits with Jack Flaherty over 5.5 Ks. Feel like we were lucky to get that one. And then the Mets first 5 money line also cashed the Phillies first 5 run line, which is nice to see. The Rangers, they don't come through for us. And then Massey and Garcia, our hit parlay that we posted over on Instagram, that doesn't come through either. But a profitable night, 3 and 2. Not going to cry over that. Just one of those cash, though. We're looking at a 4 and 1 night versus a 3 and 2 night. That would have been nice to see. But speaking of the Rangers, I told you yesterday, if the Rangers don't come through for us, we've lost too many Rangers bets. They're now added to the do not bet list, and we're taking the advice of the comments. Instead of the 15-day DNB, we're throwing them on the 5-day DNB. So the Texas Rangers, in terms of our final plays, are eligible to return on the 12th of May, 5 days from now. So yeah, the Yankees, we put them on the 15-day DNB. It's obviously been a long time, so we're going to do a 5-day from now on. But 2 teams on the do not bet list that we cannot touch until they come back, just because they've burned us too many times. Speaking of getting burned, our ride of the day. Gotta drop the womp womp on King here. Had Tyro Estrada as well as Alec Baum both getting a hit for some plus money odds, and the parlay does not come through. Shout out to him for trying. I like this spot. We jumped on board. If you guys don't know what the ride of the day is, it's simple. Use hashtag ride of the day. Give me an absolute banger of a play. It can be a parlay, a game pick, a total, a player prop, right? I'll be jumping on board with one person's pick and giving you a shout out in the next video, win or loss. I also give you a shout out over on my Twitter/X. Make sure to go follow me there. Tons of additional content being posted. Make sure to follow me on all these socials that rotate through. But nonetheless, use that hashtag ride of the day in the comments. If you get your pick right, we continue to ride with you the next day, and so on and so forth. So go ahead and drop those in the comments. But yeah, let's dive into today's games. Make sure you're hitting that subscribe button and hitting that like button as well. You guys have been going off on the likes with the MLB videos as of late, so I cannot thank you enough for that. But let's get going here. We got the A's taking on the Rangers, and I just mentioned Texas is on the DNB list, so regardless if I like the Rangers in this spot or not, we got to play by the rules, right? We cannot take the Rangers. That being said, I'm not on the A's, so I guess, you know, if Texas isn't on your DNB list, then maybe that's the move today. But even yesterday, like, they do win the game. We had them in the first 5. They lose. They do win the game, but I wouldn't really consider it a late, you know, them a late inning type team. Their bullpen can blow anything at any time. Pause. But I do think that this is a spot in which, you know, I'm not necessarily trusting Ross Stripling on the mound for Oakland overall. So both these pitchers, Jose Reyna on the mound for Texas, and then Ross Stripling on the mound for Oakland, both these pitchers should be able to, you know, got in a sense. So I'm going to lean slightly towards the over. It's down at 7.5. We saw like a lackluster offensive game yesterday, and it finished at 4-2. And those were with 2 better pitchers on the mound. Alex Wood, I guess you could say, better, maybe not. And Heaney was on the mound, right, for Texas. So with Arena and Stripling on the mound today, I do think that there could be some room for some runs. The one thing I will say is that, you know, Ross Stripling seems to be getting a little bit better and better with each start, but I can't put too much weight into that. Last start was a 6 innings pitched, 3 hit, 0 earned run game, only 2 Ks, but it was against Pittsburgh. We know their offense struggles. So give me the over in this spot, and then no player props that are jumping off the page to me there. And I did get the question in a recent video, when Texas is on the DNB list, right? It just means we can't take them money line or run line, the team. If we like player props within that game, we can still roll with player props there. So those are the official rules that I could change at any given moment. But nonetheless, Texas on the DNB. Comment DNB if you like it, and comment DNB if Texas has screwed you this year. Next up, we have Cleveland taking on Detroit. This ends in a 2-1 win for Cleveland. Yesterday was a push for us, 1-1 at the end of 5 in terms of our final plays. But like I said, Jack Flaherty came through and clutched up for us, which is kind of, he wasn't pitching terribly, but it did not, I think he had like 3 strikeouts after 3, and then I was like, he needs 6, probably a no-go. We did have plus money on it, so I understood it. And then all of a sudden, I'm refreshing the box score, and boom. 6 strikeouts from Mr. Flaherty, so we'll take it. On the mound today for Cleveland is going to be Logan Allen, 2.25 ERA, 0.83 whip. His FIP is a little, maybe an indicator, an expected FIP of some regression here. 4.24 FIP with an expected FIP today of 4.53. And like I mentioned, his ERA is in the 2s, right? Logan Allen here, his expected ERA is a 4.75, so definitely due for some regression. But if we flip it over to the dashboard, which, guys, you continue to knock the likes out of the park. If you don't know, this is something that I've been wanting to bring just to the channel members on the channel. We call them the ballers, right? Shout out to the ballers. But I keep putting a like goal for you guys to be able to have access to this every day, which breaks down every game from sort of a bird's eye view, letting you know where you can start your research and whatnot. You can even just kind of come in here as a one-stop shop, and it's valuable enough. But I keep giving you a like goal, and you are literally doubling it up. So today, let's get crazy, okay? Psycho alert alarm. I'm asking for 400 likes on today's video, and if you hit 400 likes, this will be available tomorrow. You guys have been absolutely crushing it, which obviously helps the channel out, so I cannot thank you enough, but I'm glad this brings value to so many people. But back to it. So we have Logan Allen, Kenta Maeda on the mound for Detroit here. What I like is the fact that both these bullpens looking pretty good, right? Whether they're taxed or not, still decent bullpens. And we're not seeing any, glaring green numbers in terms of ranks when it comes to Detroit against left-handed pitchers or Cleveland against right-handed pitchers. So my first lean in this spot was actually just taking a peek at the under. It's sitting at 8.5 right now. And, for near even odds over on DK, you can get that for -102 at 8.5. So I do like the spot here. Yesterday was a 2-1 game. Neither one of these offenses are like super scary to me. And the pitching on the mound, it's not terrible. Like, I trust Logan Allen a little bit more than I do Kenta Maeda, but Kenta Maeda's whip is a 1.22. His FIP is a 6.09, which is terrible, but he's due for some progression here. There's an expected FIP of 4.14, so maybe he goes out there and has a decent time. His 62 plate appearances that he has against this Cleveland team, middle of the road, 278 average, expected batting average 273. Not striking many guys out, but he shouldn't let up too many home runs against a team that isn't the biggest power team in general either. So yeah, I think this could be a good spot for an under. In terms of a money line, slight lean towards Cleveland today. If you're on Detroit, I can kind of see it. Like, these two teams, there's not much separation, if you ask me. So I am going to take a peek at the under, but I'll lean Cleveland, but I would honestly probably pull trigger on under 8.5 before I get to either side in this game. All right, Pittsburgh taking on the Angels here. We got Quinn Priester on the mound for Pittsburgh, going up against Patrick Sandoval, who has been pretty fadeable in most spots here for the Angels. In terms of what we saw yesterday, we saw a 4-1 win for the Pirates. Angels have lost 3 straight now. They've lost 8 of their last 10, so not exactly, flying high there. But I wouldn't say Pittsburgh has been looking all that great either. They took 2 of 3 against Colorado. Okay, right? And then, like I said, a win yesterday. That was Mitch Keller pitched. Mitch Keller, I believe, pitched a complete game. So maybe they have a little bit momentum behind them. I do like the spot for Pittsburgh overall, batting at home. In fact, if we just go to the dashboard, easier to show you than tell you. This is a spot in which Pittsburgh against left-handed pitchers at home actually is pretty good. Now, the Angels, on the other hand, there are a few top 10 spots here when it comes to OPS, ISO, slugging, and et cetera, et cetera. I do like that, but overall, Quinn Priester's actually shown a couple flashes to me this year, even though I've ragged on the kid for what seems like, a year and change now. But overall, there's not enough value in the Angels. Yesterday, I believe I leaned towards the Angels because they were like plus 130, right? We didn't make it a final play or anything like that, but today at plus 105 or plus 110-ish, it's not enough to get me there. So I'm going to lean towards the home team here with what I believe has more of a talented pitcher on the mound, as crazy as that is maybe to say. In terms of the total, I like the under as well. I could see another 4-1 type of a game, or 5-2. But like for this to get to a 5-4 type of a spot, 9 runs scored, I think it would take a lot of offense, in which, regardless of who's pitching, I don't necessarily see happening. I'd also consider taking a peek at the first 5 under as well, because that way we don't have to worry about the LA bullpen or even the Pittsburgh bullpen for all that matters, kind of blowing the game or allowing some late runs overall. And guys, if you do want to ride with Pittsburgh on the money line here, the best place to do it as of right now is going to be over on FanDuel. Most books have it at -130, -135. FanDuel's sitting at -120. But what's really cool about FanDuel is, I got to tell you, if you're not a FanDuel customer, you have not signed up for FanDuel yet, you are missing out. They have an amazing entry welcome deal right now. Bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win. Now, the key to that, and I don't know if FanDuel wants me telling you this, but the key to that is to go in there and take a heavy favorite, right? You don't have to spend $5 on a money line or an underdog or anything like that. You can go in there and take a massive favorite. If that cashes like the odds say it should, you'll get $150 in bonus bets. I think if you live in Ohio and potentially North Carolina, your deal may be even better. Maybe it's like bet 5 and get 300, but use the link in the pinned comment. It's also in the description, but it'll be the first link in the pinned comment. Go check out FanDuel, guys. An amazing entry welcome. And obviously it's Tuesday, so they have the Dinger Tuesday as well, which is an absolute great promo, right? If you don't know what the Dinger Tuesday is, all you do is find a game and you can take a guy in that game to hit a home run. Say he doesn't hit the home run. Any home runs in that game count towards bonus bets and bonus credit in your account. So it's really cool. Pretty much take the biggest power hitter on a game in which you think is going to have a lot of home runs, and boom, you're good to go. 2 home runs in that game, you get double the bonus bets there. So go check out FanDuel, guys. Again, that link is in the pinned comment. It's a no-brainer. It's a great book for baseball. A lot of their lines are softer and have a ton of value. So if you're on DraftKings or BetMGM or Caesars, anything like that, and you're not on FanDuel, for this baseball season, I highly encourage you to check it out. That link is in the pinned comment. Go bet $5, and if that wins, you get $150 in bonus bets. You must be 21 plus, and obviously if you have a problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. But again, that link is in the pinned comment. Go check out FanDuel. Now let's jump back into the rest of the games here. All right, Phillies taking on Toronto. I know we have the DNB list for teams that are screwing us, but I wonder what we got to do for teams that are absolutely cashing for us. Like, I think one of our most profitable spots so far this year has been the Phillies in the first 5. And today, Christopher Sanchez on the mound going up against Jose Barrios, who obviously Barrios has had a good year so far. Couple steps back in those 2 games against Kansas City. Prior to that, he had 3 straight games of 6+ innings pitched and 0 earned runs. When I say step back, it's a 5 innings pitched and a 7 innings pitched game in which he let up 2 runs in each of those games. So not even crazy, right? But he's not striking too many guys out. I would consider taking a peek at his under in strikeouts. Like I said, this has been a Phillies team that has absolutely been, crushing for us in a sense. But I'm not going to lie here and sit here and be like, I think that this is an easy spot for the Phillies. This is probably one of the more difficult ones that we've seen as of late. So I think the way that I back it is by potentially looking at Jose Barrios under 5.5 strikeouts. I don't think the Phillies go out there and strike out all that much. Probably still going to lean towards Phillies in the first 5 because, again, we're kind of playing with house money at this point. And I do think that they have the better offense, but I want to give the Blue Jays, I guess, their credit here overall. So just know that I'm almost like fan betting the Phillies in the first 5 here. I do trust them. I think it's still a valuable bet, especially with their offense. But there is a level of, okay, well, they've made us a lot of money. I feel like it'd be kind of dirty of me to go and back Toronto. So give me the Phillies in the first 5, as well as Jose Barrios under 5.5 strikeouts. We just talked about FanDuel. -122 for his under 5.5 strikeouts over on FanDuel, right? DraftKings -145, ESPN -150, BetMGM -150, Caesars -163. Go check out FanDuel, guys. Again, link in the pinned comment. You can't find better baseball value out there. So in terms of a total, though, I think both these bullpens can go in there and blow it. On the season, Toronto's bullpen has the worst ERA and the 8th worst whip. Philadelphia in the bottom 7 for both whip and ERA as well. So, yeah, give me the under in this spot. Give me the over in this spot. I do think that this is a spot in which Philadelphia says, okay, you know what? we're flying high. Their last few games, 4, 14, 5, and 6 runs scored. Toronto, last 2 games, 8 and 6 runs scored. Give me some runs in this spot overall. And again, if we were to isolate Philly, I'm looking at the first 5 because of the bullpens. I don't want that erratic bullpen to be, screwing with us or anything like that. But full game, don't mind the over. I had Cincinnati taking on Arizona. Weird one here because you look at the pitchers and even just you look at the team and it's like, oh, this should be such an easy spot for Arizona. And while I do still lean Arizona on the money line, it's not as easy as you'd think. Like Zach Gallen has been kind of getting, I don't want to say batted around, but definitely not a season in which you'd expect after last year. I think is a more, diplomatic way of saying it. On the season, 3.38 ERA, 1.22 WHIP, a 3.5 FIP, and a 3.15 expected FIP. So you look at those and you're like, that's good, but expectations are a weird thing, right? And Zach Gallen clearly had, more expectations than what we've had from him as of late. But overall, I do still think it's a good enough spot to trust him in this spot. Going up against Frankie Montas on the Cincinnati side of things, which you look at his numbers, and I would not say they're as great or as good as Zach Gallen. A 4.19 ERA, a 1.45 WHIP, a FIP of 5.28, and a 4.76 WHIP. And even when you look at their batting here, it's like, yeah, we always say Arizona against right-handed pitchers is not the move. It's usually against left-handed pitchers, right? But look at Cincinnati against right-handed pitchers. Somehow, some way, they go out there and they make it look even worse than what we're seeing from Arizona. So give me Arizona on the money line. Definitely a strong chance of being a final play because, again, we do sort of have the wild card in our pocket of Zach Gallen at any given moment is one of the best pitchers in the entire league. And to be able to get them at minus 126 today, I think that's a good spot as well overall, just due to the fact that, this is a Cincinnati team that is struggling. I think they lost 5 in a row, maybe 4 in a row, something like that. But 8 of their last 10, I know that. Arizona, not playing the best baseball, but they are coming off of a dub against San Diego. Maybe they get a little inspiration from that one. In terms of the total, sitting at 9, I can't see either one of these offenses exploding. The counter to what I'm saying about Arizona's offense being bad is if Frankie Montas kind of does what he's been doing, right? But either way, it's not exactly a spot in which I could see this being a massive scoring game. So I'm also going to lean towards the under in this spot, but I'm much more likely to pull the trigger on Arizona overall. And then a player prop that I'm considering here is Gino Suarez over 1.5 bases. Reason being, over on FanDuel, again, how many times am I going to mention FanDuel? Fits perfectly with the promo too. Over 1.5 bases, plus 130 over there. It's a plus 115 play on most sports books. Also, Christian Encarnacion Strand over 1.5 for the Reds here, over 1.5 bases, plus 130 over on FD. Average odds of plus 110. So 2 expected value plays that could be worth considering in this spot. But keep an eye on the pinned comment, guys. As always, that's where all my final plays live. All right, Washington hosting Baltimore. This should be a pretty straightforward one. We have Corbin Burnes on the mound going up against Trevor Williams. Trevor Williams has looked pretty good. I don't think that we can really rag on him, but I'd also say that he's no Corbin Burnes at all. And the Orioles here have just been absolutely crushing. 7 of their last 10 they've won. 4 straight games now. The competition in their last years against Cincinnati, not all that great, and they end up stomping them in Game 3. The other games were somewhat close, but 11-1 in that last game. But they took 3 of 4 against the Yanks, bouncing back after that series against Oakland. Washington, on the other hand, they're playing good baseball as well, but they had a 4-game sweep against Miami. They did take 2 of 3 against both. No, I think they lost 2 of 3 against Texas, but then took 2 of 3 against Toronto. But again, this is a Corbin Burnes spot for him, in my opinion. I don't necessarily view Washington on their level, and the odds would agree, right? Plus 170. So we'll see if we can get to the side of Baltimore somehow, some way. Don't love them on the run line because minus 1.5 is still, minus 130, but a spot in which I don't mind is taking a peek at the under here. You can take historical game logs or whatever, but this is dating back to 2021. So I understand, 3+ years ago, but 10 straight unders between these two teams. And we've seen some low numbers. The last 2 times they've met, 7.5. It was a 1-0, 5-0 win. Also, Baltimore has won 9 of the last 10. So again, different teams. We're dating back plenty of years, but that trend is pretty strong. 10 straight unders between these two teams could be a consideration today, throwing in the fact that you have, Corbin Burnes on the mound, who should be able to get there at least 5 innings pretty untouched. All right, Tampa Bay taking on Chicago. Obviously, Tampa Bay is the better team here, and Soroka's on the mound for Chicago, who is, Fadoka. You might as well call him, even though it makes zero sense. Eflin on the mound for Tampa Bay, but I want to more focus on the fact that Tampa Bay now has 4 straight wins. They obviously kind of had a slow start to the year. They're only 500. They're 18-18 right now. This is a team that I think is slowly going to get the wheels going and kind of catch up to pace to some degree, but I don't think plus or minus 250 is a spot in which I'd consider it. And I don't know if I love them on the run line, to be completely honest. The one thing I will say is out of those 4 straight wins, 3 of those they've won by 2 or more runs. So maybe because the White Sox stink so much, that is a good spot to be able to consider taking the run line, I guess, in a sense, for Tampa Bay. But again, I'd really be looking for more plus money if I were to roll with that, and we're not getting that right now. So it's probably Tampa Bay in some sort of a parlay or something like that, where they just need the money line, or even considering them just on the first 5 run line. The odds are probably still going to be terrible, but we don't have to worry about the bullpen. But overall, some way Tampa, there's no way, I should say, that I'm betting Chicago. So by default, we got to figure out if we were to make this a final play to work Tampa Bay in there somehow. In terms of the total, yesterday's game, 8-2. Tampa Bay pretty much hit this total by themselves. And Soroka isn't a guy that I want to take the under with. So I'll lean towards taking a peek at the over in this spot. But Chicago's going to have to touch Eflin, who has some decent numbers. He has some bad starts, but has some decent numbers on the season. But Tampa Bay some way, and then slightly lean towards the over. Not too thrilled, even though we spent a decent amount of time on this, not too thrilled about this matchup overall because it's lopsided, and I think that Tampa Bay's odds aren't like a fair price. They haven't really hit their stride enough yet to be minus 250, but they are. All right, Yankees taking on Houston. I'll be honest, kind of forgot my own rules. As we were dissecting this game last night and into this early morning, I was like, the Yankees maybe have a little bit of a look here offensively. They're on the do not bet list for another 8 days. So that's where we get screwed with the 15-day DNB, because maybe the Yankees didn't warrant that. The Rangers burned us more this season so far than the Yanks have, and we only threw the Rangers on a 5-day DNB. So we gotta play by the rules. And I love the comments of people being like, "That's stupid. Every game should." We're having fun on YouTube, okay? I put a team on the do not bet list. I understand that it's probably dumb because what if they do have an edge or something? But at the end of the day, we're having fun, and it's for entertainment purposes. And even a sports bet in general should be your brain saying, hey, this is the price of admission to have entertainment on the game. So we're having fun here, okay? But by default, I think we're going to look at Houston here. What I like about it is you do have Verlander on the mound to decent stats. He's not really striking guys out as much as you'd think. Just given, even last game or 2 games ago, he pitched, I think it was 6 or 7 innings of 2 strikeouts, which is obviously not really like him. But I do think that this is a spot in which, for plus money, I can't necessarily hate on the idea of taking Houston, which, yes, the Yankees should have an offensive sort of edge, but these Houston bats also at any given moment can kind of explode. So give me Houston on the money line, and I'm not just saying that because of the DNB, but also forced to say that because of the DNB. In terms of, actually, we'll do a player prop first. I don't mind looking at Luis Gil, however you say his name, for under 5.5 strikeouts, plus 124 over on FanDuel. Most other sportsbooks, MGM plus 105, Fanatics plus 115, DraftKings plus 105, ESPN plus 100, Caesars plus 102. For plus 124 over on FanDuel, you got some decent value there, like a 1% edge. So we do like to see that. And Houston, against right-handed pitchers on the year, if we flash to the dash, look at that rhyme. The second best team in terms of strikeout rate against righties, and then at home, on the road, the best team in the league this year in terms of strikeout rate. So, his line sitting at 5.5. I could see him having a 4-5 type strikeout game, but against this Houston team, maybe even those numbers are tough to get to. So give me him under 5.5 strikeouts for plus 124, some decent odds. In terms of the total in this game, though, I do trust the offenses more than I do the pitchers, even though Verlander's a vet and Gil's having a good start to the year. Give me the over 8 in this spot. All right, Atlanta hosting the Red Sox here. Maybe I'm a little psycho for this one. But I think I might see some value on the Sox in this spot for plus 150. And when I'm betting the Red Sox or thinking about the Red Sox, I obviously go, okay, do they have any of their serviceable pitchers on the mound? Cutter Crawford looks good. Do they have Jarren Duran, Rafi Devers, Tyler O'Neill? When they have those three guys, I'm like, okay, good, right? On the mound for Atlanta is a good pitcher, Ronaldo Lopez, 1.5 ERA, a 1 flat whip, 2.96 FIP. Like, I get it, but, you know, for minus 180, that doesn't really get me there. And even Atlanta versus right-handed pitchers this year has not been their strong suit. Whereas the Red Sox against right-handed pitchers, both these pitchers being righties, Crawford and Lopez, the Red Sox 6th best average, 8th best WRC plus, on base percentage 9th, OPS 6th, ISO 3rd, slugging 5th. And those numbers either are better or stay the same when on the road. So for plus 150, again, that's very important here. I'm not saying that the Red Sox are, you know, bound to win or this is a lock, but for plus 150, by that calculation, you know, you are looking at, in fact, I could probably pull the exact odds here. So for a plus 150 play, right? Let's do this the right way. Plus 150, it's giving them a 40% chance to win by the book's odds. That's what plus 150 means, right? I think that they have like a 48, maybe even 50-50 chance to win. So there's the value I'm seeing. This should be closer to maybe plus 110, in my opinion, based on how the Red Sox, or I should say how Cutter Crawford's been playing and some of the Red Sox bats. Now, they had a few games in a row where they kind of stunk it up, but Atlanta's also hasn't looked all that amazing. So for plus 150, I sounded the psycho alert alarm. I understand if you guys think I'm psycho. Give me the Sox in this one. I'm also a Red Sox fan, could be completely biased. In terms of a total, it's sitting at 9 right now. I don't think that this is that high of scoring of a game. I think both pitchers are actually pretty good. So, yeah, slight lean towards the under. Now, I don't think this is like a 2-1 type of a game, but, you know, even a 5-4 game that's a push, like I could see that happening. All right, Cubs taking on the Padres here. Padres get the dub. Yesterday, that was a 6-3 win for them. But on the mound today is Shota Imanaga, and I think that this is a pretty... I nailed that pronunciation. Let's go. But I think this is a pretty big pitching discrepancy. Randy Vasquez on the mound for San Diego has not looked all that great. Even if you're, you know, even if your numbers illiterate, you should be able to consider these colors, and one is a red light and one's a green light. So we do like to see that if you're on the side of the Cubs, which I am today. Both offenses are not necessarily these powerhouses, and I keep telling you guys, like, we are waiting for the Cubs to get a couple bats back, right? So it's not exactly like I say they're not a powerhouse. It's more or less the idea of, well, Bellinger, who should be back in a couple weeks, right? Suzuki's out. Like, they do have a few of these bats that are normally in the lineup. I think those are the two main ones that are out. So their bats should get better, but at home this year, they actually have been pretty good. 3rd in WRC plus, 4th in on base, 4th in OPS, ISO 6, slugging 5th. So I like this spot for them. The one thing that I will say is their bullpen, 25th ERA rank, 26th whip rank. Like, this is probably a spot in which, if we're taking the Cubbies, we'll probably look at the first 5 in this spot, because that's how we can obviously isolate Shota versus Vasquez. So, yeah, give me the Cubs in the first 5. In terms of the total, maybe it's a Cubs team total over, maybe even an over in the first 5, just because I don't think Randy Vasquez is going to go out there and absolutely shove. In fact, we haven't really seen anything that would indicate that he is going to go out there and shove against his team. So that's probably the way that I play it. I don't know how I feel about full games in this spot. Now, neither bullpen is all that tremendous, so maybe it's also a full game over. But again, neither one of these offenses is like totally the creme de la creme as of right now. All right, next up, Minnesota taking on Seattle. I got some, I wouldn't call it hate. You guys were nice, but I got some comments yesterday about why on earth would you take Minnesota, and I just leaned it, so I can't even take too much credit for it right now, right? But why would you take Minnesota against Luis Castillo? And I explained myself well in the video. I was like, it's literally that one pitch, the fastball, which is Castillo's go-to, which he didn't have a bad game, by the way, at all. But they end up winning as plus 115 dogs. So I wish we made that a final play. Today's a little bit different. I'm actually going to be on Seattle just due to these odds here. Bailey Ober on the mound going against Emerson Hancock, who I don't trust Hancock. Ober's had some hit or miss spots, right? But for minus 148, that doesn't really compute in my brain overall. So I do stick away from Minnesota today. So I guess by default, we look at the the Mariners at plus 122 odds, and at plus 125 actually you can grab them at too. So again, it's kind of not necessarily backing Seattle, but more or less saying that price I'm not loving for Minnesota. In terms of the total, I think this one goes under again. I don't care if the pitching takes a little step back, or we don't have Castillo on the mound for Seattle, and Emerson may let up a decent amount of runs, but neither one of these offenses remotely resembles a powerhouse in my brain, even though Minnesota hits righties fairly well, and we saw them have 3 runs yesterday, but again, it wasn't really Castillo that got banged up. I do think both of these bullpens are actually fairly good, and I guess overall, in my opinion, worth backing. Seattle's bullpen should be pretty damn fresh overall, and then in terms of Minnesota, I think they're closed. They went like 3 guys deep for the late innings yesterday, but they didn't pitch the day before, so maybe they're still pitching today. But yeah, give me the under, as well as Seattle, kind of a flyer. Kansas City taking on Milwaukee. Seth Lugo on the mound for KC, 1.6 ERA this season. But what's interesting is his expected ERA jumps to 4.15 here. Going up against Colin Rea, who has a 2.6 ERA, his expected ERA jumps fairly high as well. So I'm not sitting here trying to blow smoke up your ass saying that he's going to be incredible as well. But really interesting to note the odds in this one. Kansas City at minus 125, whereas Milwaukee, who hits righties well, at plus money, plus 110 over on FanDuel. So I do think it's worth a flyer. Also worth noting that Kansas City's bullpen is super taxed. So, Milwaukee should be in better shape, and you can make the argument which bullpen's even better in general. So it's like Milwaukee may even have the better bullpen in the first place, and then you throw in the fact that they're less worn down than Kansas City's. Give me Milwaukee here for plus money on the money line. I do think that I would go full game for this, because if they can get to Lugo, great. But I also would like to see them get to that bullpen overall. And again, Kansas City's bullpen super taxed here. In terms of, let's see, they hit righties well. I want to break down their bullpen. So they only have, they have 4 righties available in the pen and 1 lefty today. And even that lefty, Zerpa, went 22 pitches 2 days ago. Maybe he might not even be ready. So this should be righties all day long for Milwaukee. For plus money, I don't mind that spot. I'll also lean towards the over, because I think if Milwaukee's going to win, they're going to bring in some runs. So it'd be kind of silly to go ahead and lean towards an under. So give me Milwaukee and the over. In terms of any player props in this spot, Seth Lugo's strikeout line, I kind of have gone back and forth with, but ultimately I would lean towards the over just based on the odds. Plus 148. I know I just got finished saying the Brewers going to have a good game, but like, you could score runs while the pitcher still has 6 strikeouts, right? But for plus 148, this is a plus 120 play on most books. So if you're over on FanDuel grabbing this, like, there's like 7% edge there in terms of value. So I do think that that's worth considering odds-wise. Again, similar to what we talked about with the Red Sox, right? Plus 150 is saying it's a 40% chance to hit. I think this is more of a 50-50 prop, so there is obviously some value in that. All right, St. Louis taking on New York, and I'm not going to lie, I just must be missing something here, because yet again, just like yesterday, we took the Mets. They cashed for plus money. Yet again, St. Louis coming in as favorites here at home. Miles Mikolas or losers on the mound today for St. Louis, going up against Jose Butto or Beautiful on the mound for the Mets. And though there seems to be a pitching edge to the Mets, there seems to be a bullpen edge to the Mets, and there should be an offensive edge. So I sit here and I'm like, I guess I just don't, maybe I'm missing something, but for plus money, yet again, give me the Mets in this spot. In terms of, whether or not we want to go first 5 or full game, I don't mind either. The Mets setup man and closer did go yesterday, and Diaz, the closer, has gone 2 days in a row, so he's probably not going to pitch today overall, so I guess that's worth noting. But there has been a lot of pitches being thrown out of the St. Louis bullpen too, so it's not like I sit there and I'm like, it's the bullpens should be shot for the Mets and not the Cardinals, but maybe it's another first 5 play. Like, I don't know, maybe I'm missing something in this game, because this seems like a Mets all day type of play for me. But again, that's when we walk into traps. Yesterday it worked out, but for whatever reason, I just can't see this being a bad spot. Like, I would, even if this bet loses, I look at the numbers and the data and I'm like, for plus money, I feel like I may have gotten the better team. Is that crazy to say? In terms of a total, yesterday was a 4-3 game, And like I said, the bullpens are a little bit more worn down today, but not enough that I would consider this getting to 9 runs. So I definitely like the Mets on the money line more than this, but I'm also going to lean towards the under slightly here. All right, guys, if you are still watching and listening, I appreciate the heck out of you. You made it 33 or over 33 minutes into the video. Comment your player. So comment 33, and then let me know a player that comes to mind when you think 33. I have a million Larry Bird baubles behind me. I have his, where is it? I have his high school one, I have his Celtics one, and college one, all in their boxes. So 33 comes to mind, Larry Bird. But there's been tons of good 33s, basketball and baseball out there, so, and other sports too. So let me know when you think of the number 33, who comes to mind. I'm very curious to see this one. But nonetheless, back to the games. We have Colorado taking on the Giants here. Much like most Colorado series, I'm not too interested in this spot. You have Dakota Hudson on the mound for Colorado going up against Kyle Harrison for San Francisco. San Francisco hasn't been playing good baseball, but maybe that's why you can actually get them at decent odds today. And I say decent, minus 150. Like, I think that could be the move just because Colorado's so bad. And in terms of this total, I hate that it's so low for being, a Rockies home game, but I'm still going to lean towards the under. We're fading the science. We're fading the altitude here. Both these teams have to show that they can score some freaking runs, regardless of, it doesn't matter how the altitude is if you can't get the bat on the ball. So, yeah, give me the under 10.5 in this spot as well. But, again, overall, not exactly thrilled to jump in and run to the window and bet this game. All right, Dodgers taking on Miami. This is Yoshinobu Yamamoto. Man, I'm like getting better at English, as I say a Japanese name, but getting better at pronunciation as these videos go on. So no big deal. Pat myself on the back for that bad boy. Going up against Edward Cabrera, I can handle that name. The Dodgers obviously huge favorites in this one, and I would say yes, they have a pitching edge here, but like if you look at their offensive edge, like you can't even deny this, right? So this is probably going to be a spot in which I can't make an argument for Miami, so by default we'll lean Dodgers, but it'd have to be in some sort of a parlay, similar to how we talked about Tampa Bay, right? Like some form of a spot in which maybe we can get the Dodgers, because even their run line is 2.5 today, which is, I don't want them to have to win by 3 runs, so probably not playing this one. In terms of a total, I'll lean towards the over. Much like yesterday, I said that, this would be a Dodgers carrying the weight. Miami chipped in with 3 runs, so good for them. I don't know if they will against Yamamoto today, but nonetheless, I do think the Dodgers can get to Cabrera. So overall, this is a spot in which I probably see a decent amount of runs coming in. I'd lean towards the over overall. And guys, it's going to wrap it up for today's show. Hope you guys did enjoy. If you did, do me a favor and hit the like button. And do yourself a favor, hit that subscribe button as well. Tons of content coming out. We are putting out, between Tassos and myself, putting out like 4 full-length videos a day and sometimes multiple shorts. But make sure you are following me on TikTok at evpicks2zs, following me on Twitter at evguyboston, and following me over on Instagram at evpicks with a Z, just 1 Z. More content, coming out over there. We dropped our hit parlay over on Instagram yesterday, and we might do something similar today. So thank you very much for tuning in. We'll catch you guys in the next video, all right? Peace out.